Hello, I'm Oscar Hollingworth and this is my researching expeditions assignment for outdoor and adventurous expeditions. So firstly, an expedition is a journey undertaken by an individual or group with a particular purpose, especially that of exploration or research. There are three main different types of expeditions, and these are historical, developmental and commercial. Historical expeditions usually the first to something and are well publicised by the media, are often sponsored and can be undertaken by either an individual or a group. Developmental expeditions are usually to gain further experience for individuals or groups to gain more knowledge that they are not often publicised as they tend to only be local. And contemporary expeditions are often contested by different stakeholders, interested parties, and related to modern issues and can sometimes involve conflict. Expeditions can also be broken down into smaller groups, which are individual, group, corporate, students, education, military or clubs. They can also either be commercial, which means they are organised by a professional company. A participant who is in fact a client for a company pays the charges for service offered by the company, or they can be exploratory, which means the purpose of the exhibition is to discover and record new species and areas. So for our assignment we had to research four expeditions, and my first one is the Queen's Scout Award expeditions. So using mine as an example, we did it in the form of walking, however it can be done kayaking, canoeing, cycling, all that sort of stuff. And there is no specific location for these expeditions, as your group will plan it in a local area. Our expedition had no particular aim or objective except to simply complete it as part of our award. The expedition was funded by ourselves as we paid for meals, fees for spending the nights, and the planning process consisted of planning the routes, making route cards, risk assessments, contacting the campsites, and getting all the emergency and medical information for each group member. We got the opportunity to do this through our Explorer unit, St Vincent ESU, who were able to provide us with tents and transiers to take with us. The main achievement for our expedition is that we completed it, and it is now part of our Queen's Scout Award and logged down. And here are some images of where we started. So we started at Barneswood, spent the first night at Consall, walked from Consall, spent the second night at Sheretswood, and then from Sheretswood to Kibbleston Camp. My second expedition I researched was the Cairngorm disaster. This particular exhibition is contemporary, developmental and historical. It is historical because it changed the health and safety legislation. It is contemporary because people died and not everyone agreed with the idea of the expedition. And it is developmental because it was originally aimed to develop students' group team working skills. The type of this is students, groups and teams and educational. This is because groups of students from schools will go on educational trips to take part in multiple team building exercises and activities. This was a commercial expedition. The aim of the instructors and students was initially to climb Cairngorm, the 6th highest peak in Britain. The objectives were to reach the safety of the hut in the mountain on a Saturday night and to complete the exhibition safely. This expedition did not meet the achievement goals as it failed and at least 2 people lost their lives. And here are some images of where around it is in mid-Scotland. The third expedition I researched was Charles Darwin's expedition around the Galapagos Islands. This is a developmental and historical expedition that was exploratory. It was also an international expedition. This is because Darwin travelled to various different countries across the globe. The aim of the expedition was to chart the South American coast. He achieved this by travelling by boat to all the locations listed, shown on the next slide. The main achievement was the discovery and evidence that proves evolution. He also discovered thousands of new species. After finishing his studies, he was recommended to accompany Captain Robert Fitzroy as a naturalist. Due to Darwin's expedition research, the human race is now more aware of many different species and breed of animal and plant life. For example, Darwin discovered several species of finches that varied from island to island, which helped him to develop his theory of natural selection. And here I have a list of all the places. I'm not going to read that out because there's loads. And my final expeditionary research was the first man on the moon, which is Apollo 11, named the spacecraft. This expedition was led by Neil Armstrong, who was accompanied by his team, Michael Collins and Edwin Buzz E. Aldrin. On July 19th, after Apollo 11 had flown behind the moon out of contact with Earth, came the first lunar orbit insertion manoeuvre. At about 75 hours and 50 minutes into the flight, a retrograde firing from the SPS for 357.5 seconds placed the spacecraft into an initial elliptical lunar orbit of 69 by 190 miles. This is a historical expedition as it was the first time that a human had stepped foot on the surface of the moon. This was Neil Armstrong. The main purpose of this expedition was to break new barriers for mankind, and they achieved this successfully as they were able to safely touch down on the moon, spend 3 hours collecting samples to bring back to Earth, and leave no major setbacks or incidents. When they got back to Earth, they were greeted with praise, applause and fame. In order to do this expedition, the main required kit were their 3 spacesuits, a shuttle equipped with rockets to propel the craft into the atmosphere and into orbit, and the landing craft to reach the moon's surface. They began their exploration in Florida, America, and of course finished on the moon. They went back on themselves to get back to Earth. And here are some pictures of the 3 astronauts and them on the moon and the shuttle taking launch. So now for the comparison. The main differences between these 4 expeditions is the fact they are in different categories for expedition. For example, the Queen Scout expeditions are developmental, the first man on the moon is historical, Darwin's travels were both developmental and historical, and the Carbon Gun disaster was all 3, historical, developmental and contemporary. However, they do all have some similarities. For example, they were and are all completed in groups, teams, rather than individually. The other major difference would be the finances behind each of the expeditions. For example, the cheapest is the Queen Scout, at only £25 per person, whereas the most expensive would have been Apollo 11, which cost over $25 billion. Another difference would be the time they took to complete. The Carbon Gun disaster was meant to take 2 days, but obviously they didn't make it as 2 lost their lives. The Queen Scout took 3. Apollo 11 took 8 days and 3 hours, 18 minutes, 35 seconds. And Darwin's travel took 5 weeks. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.